welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is someone whose logic collapses on the subatomic level. It's John Levingood.
Into ghosts and shadows, Mark. That's what they do.
There are some humdinger conversations in this film, and I adore this movie. And you know what I like most about this, John? Because I recently did a rewatch of it, and this was always a lesser Carpenter for me. And I'm not saying it's lesser. I was just so busy with The Thing and the Kurt Russell pictures and Escape from New York and They Live. I hadn't given this much attention. And so in the research for this about how he wanted to back away from the studio system and make his own film, and he really did on this one. And what I like about this film, it's a singular vision, John. You can tell Carpenter had creative of this movie. And that's where you get science. That's where you get religion. That's where you get Alice Cooper stabbing people at mic stands. It's wonderful horror mustaches. It's just a singular vision from Carpenter, and I think it's highly effective throughout. I mean, it does a good job building dread. I love the theme. There's some cheeky humor that takes me out occasionally, but I don't know. I like it. This has been a very fun movie for me to re-explore, or to actually explore for the first time, because I'd never really looked that much into it. So how was your rewatches of this?
It's funny that you said that you always consider this one of the lesser Carpenter films, because so I saw this in high school, and then I might have seen it again like in college. We're talking almost 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago at this point. But I'm only certain that I watched it once before I was even 30 years old.
Oh, wow.
And then just a year or two ago, I bought it and I reviewed it for the website. And when I reviewed it for MFF, I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking, so I remember this being a hokey movie. I'm not kidding. And now this is teen John, or 20-year-old John's opinion, right? But I remember this being kind of hokey. And the thing is that I can see exactly why I remembered thinking that. But all the things that I see when I watch it now for this podcast preparation, and when I reviewed it a couple years ago, I remember just being knocked on my butt impressed. It was like I was seeing it for the first time. Mm-hmm. Now that I had so much more appreciation for film, and I pay attention to I care about good characters now. But 20-year-old John, or high schooler John, judged a horror movie almost exclusively on the quality of the death scenes. And I would say that the death scenes specifically are by far, if you were to come up with 20 categories, the weakest category of this film. This film isn't about the death scenes. It's about the development. And cooler things happen to the victims of the death scenes after their death scenes, if you will. And that's when the real neat stuff happens. But when you're a kid, you're focusing on the excitement again of the death scene. And that just didn't work for me, I guess, when I was younger. And I thought it was some hokey thing, and I never came back to it for, I don't know, 10 or almost 20 years. And then likewise, the kind of contraction of evil, and demons, Evil Dead, Romero zombie movies, it's kind of like a bite. In this, there's a stream of water, and you can, if you choose to, you can reduce this to a very crass criticism. But again, this just goes back to that is not the vehicle of this movie. That's just a device to move the plot along. And so it's so interesting that all the other things around it, though, the set design, I swear, when I saw that underground temple, I thought of Indiana Jones. I thought of set design of Indiana Jones, level caliber.
And the budget forced him to look for those. He found abandoned buildings. The cast and crew had to sign a waiver to shoot because the thing was falling apart. He shot at USC for a day where he got his education. I think the lack of a budget, John, was pretty cool because it forced him to do great location scouting around California. And they found some humdinger of locations. I love the crosses, the candles, who's lighting those. But yeah, you're right. I love the world he created, and the anti-god whose son has to raise him, the cheeky anti-god, very cheeky, laughing and yeah. But you're right. No, I like the locations. I like the feel of it. It felt like, that abandoned church they were at isolated them, and they even answered questions. Why not run around these zombies? It doesn't matter because the anti-god's coming, and we got to do something about this. To raise... Right,
there was a different urgency than just surviving these zombie things, right.
Or, I'm sorry, the son of the anti-god is coming out to bring the anti-god out into the real world. And it's just, this movie is thrilling to me because, like you said, the deaths, if there's 20 things you love, I would put that as 20th. Also, a lot of the characters in this film, I like their portrayals, but I don't think Carpenter, there's so many characters in this that I don't even know their names. They get killed immediately. But the movie's not about those characters either. I think, for me, this is a movie about mood, about dread, about science and science and religion intersecting. It's about an idea. That's what this movie is for me. And so I love that aspect of it. I mean, when do we ever get this, John? The church teams up with scientists to help them prove that there's this green cylinder of ooze, the secret of ooze it's like midi-chlorians floating through the world, controlling things. It's just a very interesting dynamic, hearing this kind of interesting discussions about carbon dating being 7 million years old, and Jesus was an alien from an alien race, but no one believed him, so they wanted to build actual proof. And how did they keep this a secret? It's all a lie. There's some heady stuff in here, but then there's also giant mustaches, and Alice Cooper stabbing people with mic stands, and Dennis Dun talking some pretty interesting, dropping some interesting bits in this movie. Hey, you watch any good movies lately? It's a weird one, but it has so much personality. That's what I like about it, I guess. It's a very singular vision. It has a personality, and it's different than most stock possession, exorcism, Satan's arising films. I dig it. It's getting better with age, and
with every viewing, it's every viewing you appreciate it a little more, because it's. I guess his creative freedom really shines in this, because it's not a simple plot. I remember this being about the son of Satan, and I feel like a lot of people who write about it as if this is the son of Satan, and yet even though they say they kind of say very clearly that it's not, but at the same time they talk so much stuff that sounds similar to that we think of that. But I mean, like you said, it's this anti-god destroyed his own son and put his son in this chamber, but now his son is the vector to get him back. But there needs to be influence to the outside world, and that apparently is why we're getting these kind of Evil Dead influenced zombie-like cultist amalgams, and then it's going to build up strength, and then it uses one of the people as a conduit. Who knows how or why he picked her.
Bumped into. Oops.
Right, bumped. And then there's the dream gateway, if you will, or I'm sorry, the mirror portal. And so there are all these facets, and I feel like most horror movies are going to be very straightforward. We need to stop this ritual from happening because they're going to summon the devil. That's your premise. This gate is going to open at the blood moon, and then this will be able to happen. There's your movie. And this is taking dimensions of things, I don't know, very loosely similar to something like your Evil Dead or your zombie movie. And then like your preventing the rise of Satan kind of movie. And anytime you ever have a scientist and a priest in a movie, they're normally both throwaway characters, where one is just there to give you 2 lines of exposition to forward the plot of the other. They're usually very basic combinations. And yeah, like there's a lot going on here. And then with all the homeless people becoming these kind of hive mind zealot sort of cultists, sort of influenced from the beyond. I only have one line of the movie that brings the greatest sense to that. And that is when Victor Wong, Professor Burak, refers to his initial influence, most likely of weak-minded creatures. And I think it was being implied that homeless and or disturbed people would be those weak-minded creatures, in addition to vermin that we see affected. I feel like that's where that was going.
Yeah, I read somewhere where they said it was the Lost, but I think your interpretation, even if it's quite heartless, I think that's what they were saying. So either the Lost, or they're considered, maybe most people consider these people on the streets to be less than. Does that make sense? So maybe they believed it. It's still an interesting dynamic about this film. And they were talking about the supernova that let loose a bunch of stuff, and it wasn't hitting to Earth until now, and that was really helping awake the tube the son of the anti-god. There's a lot in this movie, John.
I felt like that was, again, it's so loose of a connection that I'm making. It's not like I think this was the influence, but I'm reminded of, what was it, the asteroid mist from Night of the Living Dead?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like they're bringing this cosmic event into it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot here. And, you know, you mentioned how the characters, you don't really get too into any of them, but they didn't feel like weak characters to me. Mm-hmm. I felt like the entire ensemble of scientists in a way was kind of like this big amalgam character, because you're sitting back appreciating that they have a radiologist, a microbiologist, a chemist, a theologist specializing in ancient languages. You know, you have the different kinds of physicists, something that always drive me nuts, even in today's movies, even in movies that I really like Mimic with the entomologist. Well, in movies, they usually make these scientists like they know all things science. They don't realize that physicists don't necessarily know jack about biology. They took a couple core biology classes like anyone else. And on top of that, they make the physicist in most movies seem like they know all things physics. Mm-hmm. But that's not the way it is. Your astrophysicists, your applied physicists, your theoretical physicists, these people don't overlap very much, in the same way that you wouldn't have your child psychologist, your child psychiatrist do open heart surgery on you. Mm-hmm. The skill sets are 100% disparate, other than fundamental knowledge sets. And in this, they let these scientists be specialists, and so gave it a very grounded notion. Everyone is doing their little piece of the research to put this all together, instead of handing this to Doctor Who, and Doctor Who just sciences every. And I'm not bashing Doctor Who, by the way, people. I hope people aren't screaming at me right now.
That's most movies, John. You're right. That would be two characters. That would be one character battling the devil. That would be one really smart character and four dumb characters helping him, asking stupid questions. Yes. This one's a team of, like you said, applied, theoretical, languages. It's smart. It's a very smart maneuver. And like you said, I'm not saying these are weak characters. I just think the focus is less on the characters, for me at least, and builds towards the mood. But you make a great point. Yeah, I like the different aspects coming in, and I like the applied, the applied physicist, I think it's applied, wondering, like, I can't apply this to anything. He's like, well, he likes theoretical. Like, it's an interesting discussion in a horror movie. It's neat. And Carpenter said this in the commentary. He had become fascinated with quantum uncertainty after reading several books on the subject, but he ultimately felt it was impossible to explain. And he's like, it was all mumbo jumbo anyway. It was just a horror movie, he says. And then the writer said that the script touches on just enough of it to catch and hold the viewer's interest. And it's true.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not over-explained, but if you listen to it, you get the plot. You get it. Does that make sense? Like, it never died. I never asked one. I have a question, John. Did this movie make you ask any? I think asking questions in movies is good, but I also think asking dumb questions. I've never asked any dumb questions about this. So wait, why is this that? Or why is this that? I just go, oh, okay, I get it. If that, there was no.
Instead of saying, well, why would they do that? You're saying, I wonder why they did that.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder about that supernova. I wonder why it was why did they pick 7 million years? Like, I wonder these things. Of course, 7 is a very important number in association with biblical aspects connecting to, I'm not theologically accurate. God or the beast is for 7. I don't remember, but but 7 itself is an important number, and I wonder if that happened to be a part of that choice. But it's 7 million years, and at that point, who knows? But yeah,
it's a great Prince song too.
I wonder why they went with the water dripping up. But of course, that also carries a nice flavor of the physics of this cosmic, otherworldly, other-timely, other-dimensionally creature entity, and its existence and its influence of the world around it, right? Mm-hmm. It's 7 million year old corrosion, and life is slowly organizing and forming from a prebiotic solution. What? Like, this could never happen to anything anywhere. That was actually like a sentence that was said. That's the thing that you say when you're criticizing a movie normally, but they put it in the movie. It's like, that could never happen. But in the movie, they're saying, this could never happen. But
Yeah.
it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing here?
And the responses are pretty interesting from both sides. I mean, some people kind of said this is hooey. I think some guy said this is hoo-ha or caca. This is all caca. But that would make sense. But it was interesting just watching the two sides blend, the religion and science, as they realized that this was real. Mm-hmm. I feel like on Donald Pleasence's side, his mind was blown because he realized there was a secret organization that's been keeping everything a lie, and they've just been shoving a product down people's throats. And then, so he has that shock about his side of religion, and then the scientists, they're just going, oh my gosh, this is like pure evil exists in physical form? Like what? It's, once again, man, this is a movie I think you can only make with the creative control fully. Because you pitch this to Fox, I don't know, they're not going to buy it, would they?
No, well, like I said, like you can boil it down to a one sentence premise, but when you're giving the pitch, there are too many dimensions to properly convey quickly the complexity of this movie, of this story. And again, just look at how briefly in the dialogue it was delivered. I'll bet a lot of people didn't even realize, if they just saw this movie once as a casual viewing, they might not even realize that Donald Pleasence, who was basically playing Dr. Loomis as a priest
in a limo, driving around in a limo,
right? But that he basically discovered that all religion is just some lie,
yeah.
and that this religion was a lie just to wait out mankind's ability to understand the threat in this cylinder, right?
Yeah.
Until we had the science to be able to understand what was in front of us, religion existed to essentially have an organization to focus on goodness. Not that they're explaining it all in this level. And of course, and to have these people charged with protecting it, almost like the group of people, I can't remember their name, in The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, who are protecting the city of the dead. Mm-hmm. Like they're just sworn to it generation after generation, this Brotherhood of the Sleep. And again, so many weird dimensions here. The shared vision of this dream going on from the future, coming back in time from tachyons. We're just going to throw that out at the audience, right? Yeah. But they're just like, yeah, just because tachyons. You're like, oh, okay. I don't know what tachyons are, but solid. I believe it. And in the beginning, there's that little itty bitty chest with the key, with the dying priest from the Brotherhood of Sleep. Like, all this stuff is heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and there wasn't really I feel like you weren't being beaten over the head with any of the religious notions, though, because again, it was so casually delivered. And Donald Pleasence in the beginning, when he's showing up about this after the passing of this priest in the beginning of the movie, he just looks down a corridor and you see this trinity of nuns walking down, and it's just left at that. It's left at that. He doesn't say anything under his breath that would cue the audience to what he's thinking about. It just happened. There's your little symbol, and on we go. And later, oh, by the way, religion is this construct. And I don't mean organized religion. Jesus was a human-like alien who came to try to warn us. There's a history there. Where's he coming from? On what basis is he coming to warn? Like, you know what this movie is to plot? I feel like this is if you took the John Wick world-building trilogy or the Matrix world-building trilogy and flipped it inside out. And so instead of being wowed by the world building, we're being wowed by this corridor of doors leading to all these different dimensions and stories that led to this movie. And we are just left to wonder. Whereas in John Wick, our wonderment is with what we're being exposed to. It's when we're learning about the Harry Potter world, John Wick's world, the Matrix world. And this is the opposite. And again, you're never shaking your fist like, oh, come on. Well, what about this? Instead, you just like got your hand on your head. Like, what about this?
Mm-hmm. So
it's a neat movie. It's a great film.
The anti-god. So Jesus came down, they said, in alien form. So this is the alien who came to Earth to warn us. So does that mean the anti-god wrecked in quote unquote his planet? I mean, like what? And then and then Jesus was killed because they killed him.
Right, worlds, dimensions, who knows? Like, what's this story? What was this anti-god actually Eddie Redmayne from Jupiter Ascending?
Yes. And then Mila Kunis comes out and just kicks him in the balls, and then they win everything. But yeah, and I like that. Why didn't they just tell people? Well, we didn't have the technology, and it just would have become legend. No one would have believed it. And they keep throwing stuff like that out there, where we should just leave. No, we probably shouldn't. Why didn't they tell people? Well, it would just become legend. It's interesting. I would say they subtly answer questions throughout this film, which I like. And so I just thought about something, John. When you closely watch this movie, I think it's very rewarding. I think it's a very rewarding experience. But if you're background watching it nowadays, you're just going to see people spitting on each other and the cheeky humor. You're going to miss the lasagna-faced son of the anti-god going, ha-ha, and throwing stuff around. And Donald Pleasence throwing an axe 30 yards when trapped behind a thing. Powerful forearms. But it's kind of, it was a success. It made $14 million on a $3 million budget. But do you think that hurts it a little bit, where you kind of have to watch this movie to really get into the flow and the vibe and the dread and the tone?
You need to attend to it. You better not be on a first or third date where you're paying more attention to your date than the movie.
Because then you would just make fun of it, maybe. Like, oh, that's dated. Or why is that happening?
I think that's what I did. And I think that my response was to hackneyed death scenes, even though there were really cool scenes happening to these people after their air quotes death, or their conversion to evil, or their touch of evil, right? But like the guy stabbing himself in the throat was kind of abrupt and effective, right? But as far as a horror movie kill scene goes with Supernatural, that's a weak death scene.
Yeah.
Not that he died, but you know what I mean. And like being stabbed with the front half of a bicycle frame, it's silly. I giggle at it because to me it's kind of conceptually silly. Not that the homeless Alice Cooper wasn't just using what was on hand. You know, when I see, and one of them just had his neck broken by a woman in just a moment. So between that and the squirt gun zombies, as I would have called them at the time, that's affected the whole tone and the filter through which I see everything else. And now I'm not paying so much attention. Now when I get up to walk over to the kitchen to get a soda, I can hear the TV, and I don't think it's important to pause it or to pay super close attention, because this is a silly movie with weak death scenes and squirt gun zombies. But then everything around these 5-second clips that I'm criticizing right now is solid gold.
Yeah.
And again, it's so funny how easy it is to dismiss the weak stab in the throat, the broken neck, the this, that, and the other, when like just that dude walking around with his bound neck after he tried to kill himself, or did. I don't really know what the touch of evil is doing here, but they tried to save him anyway. But then what he does, and just his weird harrowing tone afterwards, and like that's weird. And yeah, and the woman who becomes essentially impregnated and becomes the true vessel or conduit choice, with her skin slowly deteriorating, and it even starts to look like it's sagging later, like it's combined aging and wilting and blistering her at the same time. That was a gnarly face too.
It's almost an opposite, where so she has this large lump and then it absorbs into her body as opposed to coming out. It's a very interesting look and idea of it. And one question for you, John, before I forget, because you know I do. Carpenter had made Escape from New York, which has some pretty... now, the violence wasn't heavy in it, but there is some quite visceral violence when the woman is killed by the cannibals, those kind of scenes. That was very effective. He had made The Thing. The violence in that was very effective. Elvis. No, I'm joking. I love that movie. Halloween. The kills were effective. So in this one, I don't like those videos that get 8 million views for saying this is how I would remake a movie, because like that's but as opposed to those zombies, it could have been 4 super fast possessed people. It could have been, he's getting away, then just something from the shadows rips him apart. You could have saved on all the hokey extras. You could have saved on the cameos, and you could have just had an unseen thing outside this church rather than bringing all these people in and making them zombies. I don't know. For me, that it sort of takes me out of the movie. And I know this movie shot in 30 days. They had a budget. It wasn't a big budget. So they had constraints, but they could have maybe cut back on extras to give us a fear of what's out there. Because they do take me out of this movie, these zombies. They really do. But I don't know. Would you have liked to have seen that? Something more mysterious keeping them in there. Something.
I think, well, right. Like I think we can eliminate the squirt gun zombies. There are different ways that one could have come up with, say, the water being involved in allowing the influence of evil. But then again, maybe the idea of that dripping water upside down didn't come until they were like already filming.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, because I only heard part of the first third of the commentary track with John Carpenter. But if that was the case, I'm making this up as I go, right? But if that was the case, well, now they're like, well, hold on, like we need to do something with that. And you only have so much time, and someone's like, well, I can make this gag for like no money at all, right? And so they're just like, well, we'll go with it. The audience now has a very clear visual mechanism to understand the passing of evil, and maybe that was a big concern as well, understanding who, when, and how they became infected, if you will. So if that was a mission statement of that idea, I can see how that can run away. You can run away with it and get stuck in this. That again, I didn't think it worked well, but again, 20 facets of this movie, that's the least important thing to me when watching closely and not super closely, just sitting down and quietly watching and not having a conversation or spending half the time on my phone. I mean, I just noticed all this stuff, and then I watch it again. I just notice even more. You know, one thing that I loved, Mark, so much. Now, there's so many things that are so cool that clearly were very thoughtful flavor particles that were sprinkled into this.
Flavor
right?
particles, like the subatomic.
Right. Yeah.
I love it.
But so like, we said like, oh, well, why didn't you just tell them? Because it would have just become legend. If you think of history 2,000 years ago, we didn't even have a printing press. Yes, these things get told and told and told. And a couple thousand years later, it's hell, even a couple hundred years later. It's just, and people weren't studying a lot back then. You dedicated your entire day to just surviving most of the time, unless you were a dilettante or in the king's church, right? Mm-hmm. So I totally understand that notion. It makes so much sense, that fear that it would just become myth. But something that was said was how the book that they found, right? This, I don't know, we'll call it an analog of a Necronomicon meets Bible, and how it's written in numbers and ancient languages, and some languages less ancient.
Latin,
and you could see
Coptic, Greek.
You could see that the text was erased and written over. I swear, when I first saw them flipping the pages, I thought that it was out of focus and that it was a camera artifact. And it's like, no, because they erased the text and wrote over it because they were trying to change the story to hide the truth. But they left the book because people knew there was a book. So instead, people tried to change it and obscure it. And then potentially in history, maybe other people found it and tried to change it back. Mm-hmm. So you have all these sections, just like in a Bible, right? An amalgam of all of these books brought together from different writing sources. Well, in this case, you have this Bible that is being written in like a journal and being adjusted generation after generation, one language to another, some to obscure fact and some to maybe re-reveal it. Just that book, there's so much rich history going on there. Like I could read a short story just about that book. Mm-hmm. and just to, like I want to see a horror anthology. I don't want this remade. I want someone to make a horror anthology where each filmmaker of 5 filmmakers tells one story, and one story is the history of the book, and one story is this Jesus-like entity coming to warn us, and one story is someone warning people of the horrors that happened in some other planet or dimension or something with this anti-god. And I think that would be a hell of an idea.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see, and also, I mean, yeah, no, and no, you're absolutely right. I would love to see too, just that I would like a VHS type moment of the year number 1999, where I'm assuming the anti-god or the son of the anti-god has come out of the church, where they sent it back in time. They beamed it because if you go faster than light speed, speed of light, it can go backwards.
Like Superman did in comic books, like in the 70s.
And I'd love that explanation, but that was a very startling visual, John. I would love to see that. Like a VHS clip, like similar to the one in the Raid 2, but it's the anti-god. It's a very, you know how he did that? He filmed it on a VHS player, on a camera, then he put it on a VHS tape on a TV, then he filmed that to make it look like a dream.
Oh, I can see that, extra gritty.
Yeah, that's how low budget he went on this, which I love. But no, I would love to see that story, and I see it. Just, Jesus coming to Earth as an alien. The Brotherhood of Sleep. Like, why did they erase that? Who is this person? And like you said, I mean, what's crazy? This movie is kind of about the devil's in the details, right? It's in the subatomic particles, and that's what the subatomic particles, that's what this movie is too. It's in the details of it. Because if you just watch it superficially, you probably won't. You'll have hokey fun with it, but you won't. And, okay, another thing. This movie never comes across as precious to me. We watch a lot of horror movies, and you know how the ending of some horror movies just feel very precious? Where...
Sure. Like the ending of The Thing. I mean, you've seen it 20 times, and you love it every time. Oh. With that ending, you get the tingles, you mean?
I guess what I'm saying precious is very not earned. Like, at the end, there's a twist, and then you realize that it's been... the ghost of John Deere the entire time, and they winks as he walks away from you, and it's not earned. It's just a hokey twist ending, or something that's not earned. I think this movie earns it. Like, it never gets its it's never cute in the way it gets its dialogue across, or it's almost subtle. The quick conversations, it's very. I'm not thinking of the right word.
No, it's very. It's not just grounded in concept. It is what no movie really is, and that is that it's grounded in delivery. It is not all these really interesting notions that we're discussing about, like a priest realizing religion is a lie. If you aren't really paying attention, you miss that. Whereas normally a revelation like that in a movie like Stigmata, like they are staging that scene. It is building with the music before that particular reveal, and then it goes da-da-da! Yeah. And they're letting you know that something serious just happened, and you're like, oh, okay, that must be this. Whereas, it just kind of passes. You don't feel like anything is of exceptional importance. But then again, there are 20 such moments that are like that, not just a couple big reveals. So it's almost like conscientiously, if your attention blinks, you're going to miss it. It's not relying on staging. It's not playing its audience for a fool. It is giving the credit of intelligence to his audience, and even the smartest horror movies, even these fantastic films. Like if you look at a movie like Get Out, right, or the original Halloween, pick any of your favorites. The fact is I'm not saying that they think that the audience is stupid. I'm not. But they are very clearly staging everything that's important that they want you to know. And this film is doing that with almost nothing.
Yeah.
Very, very few moments. I feel like one of the only real moments is when Pizza Face is trying to reach for her father. Now take all the action with Donald Pleasence apart, but when it starts to pull the hand out, they went a little devilish with it, but it's this big red hand with black talons. Right. I think of things like that. But like that scene with the reaching into the void, and of course the very end connecting to that, the last scene, which I loved, it makes me think like Inception ripped it off. But so those scenes, they really did that. They really staged that. But of course, that was also the notion of the movie, the crossing over worlds, the realization of this anti-god. So it makes sense that those things got all that attention. It's 7 million years old. That was said in passing. Like, is there an extra Diet Coke in the fridge?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like.
Yeah, can I have one of those crackers? Yeah, here you go.
Oh, no, it must be wrong. What do you mean it's wrong? It says it's 7 million years old. It's like, oh, yeah, whatever. Whereas normally in a movie that happens, someone will be like, wait, 7 million years old. That's impossible. Now we're going to go check the data. Oh, gosh, it really is 7. What, don't you understand what this means? That's what would happen in a movie normally. They would, again, I'm not saying that these other movies are playing the audience as fools, but in filmmaking, you are staging it. You're taking your audience on this journey, and you want some flag posting to identify the things that are important to you for them to invest in this movie. This movie doesn't do that. This movie, it's rare, this kind of delivery, and I actually really appreciate it. But there's so much going on that if you did flag post it, there would need to be a scene justifying the 7 million years old, even if it was just 90 seconds. There would be a scene for it, you know? I was never even thought of this as I was watching it too. This is kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I love it. Hey, how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, I got a question to ask you. You ready for that?
Oh, I'm going to brace myself because we've been asking about 800 questions about this.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And there's a lot more to tackle, John. Like, what good movies have you watched recently? And why is that wall so hard to get through? There's a lot of, this is a wall heavy movie, John. That wall. Woo. But we've tackled this to a certain extent, but can you give me an answer in 20 words or less about why? I know some people, when you talked about watching this, they said this is Carpenter's best film. Mainstream wise, this is not. Because if you're a horror hound, you're going to watch it for the horror and you're not going to dig it. But if you're watching it casually, you'll miss a lot of the really interesting bits that aren't thrown in your face. So why do you think this is one of Carpenter's, it's like the cult classic of his cult classics. It's not one of his more mainstream ones. Do you think that's because he had the freedom to do what he wanted, and then that led to a sort of a tiny mishmash of tones, which maybe alienated some people? Why do you think this is a movie that it's up there with his best works, but it's not considered by the mainstream? Let's say not horror movie bubbles. So yeah, I'd
say that the short answer is terrible death scenes and squirt gun zombies.
Mm-hmm.
But really, that isn't alone. I don't like using the word blame because I don't think this movie has a fault to be identified. But if we were to blame something, I don't necessarily think that is to blame. I think it is more the notion that, again, this is a cerebrally crafted film, and I believe if you weren't being excited by a concept that you stopped to think about during the movie, when were you excited during this movie?
Me?
Yes.
Well, at the very beginning, when Victor Wong is lecturing his students.
Concepts.
Just that, like, the beginning. I love the concepts that he brings. You know, wind is there, but we can't see it. Take everything you know about what you know and throw it out the window. I remember just, I'm watching this scene, and I don't even remember that from the other times. I own this movie. I don't even remember when I bought it, John. But I've watched it before. And just watching it again, just hearing him talk about wind. Like, you know, wind is blowing, you can't see it, but it's there. And just lecturing his students about, you know, logic collapsing on a subatomic level. You're just thinking to yourself, this is a different type of picture. These are different protagonists than what we're used to.
I love those things, but I think that what general audiences respond to as a good movie are the thrills and excitement that comes from what you saw, not from what people say. And I think that is where this movie suffers. And even though suffers in terms of its rapport with the general horror, the casual horror viewers community, if you will. I think the big horror fans, I hope that there's a lot more love for it. Again, the set design, I compare it to Indiana Jones when we get that subterranean kind of temple with the swirling canister. Now that scene looks gorgeous. To me, that's thrilling because I love things like that in movies. I think most people watching the movie are like, oh, that looks cool. Okay, what's about to happen? and then not much happens. I think that's it, is that the peaks from action are non-existent for most viewers. Like, what's the most exciting action? Donald Pleasence clumsily axe fighting Pizza Face?
Yeah. A great decapitation.
Honestly, trying to break through a wall to escape a closet to get away from some evil-touched zealots is one of the high points of the action-based excitement of this movie.
A nice biting scene.
Right. So I think that's what hurts it in terms of a casual moviegoer saying, gosh, that was a great horror movie. I think that they're not cueing in to what Professor Burak is saying in the beginning. That's this mystical science. I think that they're thinking like, okay, if this was important, it would be like Timothy Olyphant in the classroom in Scream 2, and there would be something witty, and there would be this repartee between the professor and the student. And again, it would be staged. It would be revealed that this is important because you'd be telling us by staging. And I think that Victor Wong up there lecturing and the students' faces in a way are subtle staging, right? They're cueing us that this monologue is interesting and we're paying attention and not just, getting up to get a soda, if you will, in the kitchen. But that's not the excitement that I think that gets people going. I think that what gets people going is when there's an announcement that says, school's been canceled because there was a murder in town and now there's a curfew. And then Matthew Lilliard's like, we're going to totally have a murder party and Scream, like, and you're like, oh gosh, something cool's going to happen. And people get riled up from that. So again, in a way, I think that this movie's best qualities in our eyes are what make it overall viewed negatively by a casual viewer.
You make a great point about the teaching scene. In Scream 2, it's very contrived. I mean, great point. Like, it's just people bouncing around with very written it's good, it's knowledgeable, and it's cheeky, and it's supposed to be. But this is weird, but I read a book by Jay Chandrasekhar, the director of Super Troopers, Club Dread. Puddle Cruiser. So their first film was a comedy. What they found was they didn't begin the film with a big comedy bit, so people were losing interest in the beginning. So they would do a stand-up routine before the film started to get people laughing before they played the film. And so we learned an important lesson. When he did Super Troopers, you have the chase in the beginning. You boys like Mexico? Get you into it. In Scream, you have the death of Drew Barrymore. In Get Out, what Lakeith Stanfield is taken, correct? He's walking in the beginning. You start a horror film off with a boom, a death, a kill, wake up screaming, a dream sequence. You get the audience's heart pumping.
Provocative origin.
Yeah, exactly. The beginning of Halloween. What this movie did was it just sort of it doesn't quite take you. It starts with this mystery and builds into it. There's no big kicker. There's nothing that really just injects you with, this is what I'm ready for. And I appreciate it. I find it almost thrilling that it doesn't have an opening murder. Alice Cooper killing somebody in the beginning or eating bugs. Like, it leads you into it very maturely. And it's refreshing almost to me that it doesn't feel the need to immediately hook people. Like, it's interesting. And the movie was a success, but I do think that's why it's kind of, like you said, the reason we love it is maybe the reason a lot of people don't enjoy it. And I'm telling you, I always just thought this was a fun, hokey movie, John. I really did. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not, I guess the older you get, but I appreciate it much more now.
A really fair comparison to that is that I used to say that Halloween sucks. Don't get mad at me, Mark. But I used to say Halloween sucks, whereas now I look at it like I'm going through an art museum. And even though that art isn't the style that I like today, I see the importance and its influence, and I sit back and I watch it with a reverence. And like Black Christmas, I remember when I first saw that, I thought it was terrible. Ooh. I actually feel badly about the review I put on the website. But I mean, I speak to its importance, but overall, my review as a film watcher was that I didn't find it very intense. I didn't find it very scary. Of course, at its time, it was holy crap, right?
Mm.
Whereas now I watch movies like that and I'm much more thrilled by them because I'm watching what it influenced over the course of decades in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And realizing how few movies influence the things that I'm seeing it doing for the first time or only the second time kind of things. So this is one of those movies. This is a movie that I thought was, hokey, kind of fun, horror. And I didn't even prioritize it up much because there are a lot of movies that I don't think much of that I saw many more times in the last 20 years than Prince of Darkness. I literally held off for 20 years because I just kept remembering these water stream zombies and thinking they were silly. And now I watch it and I'm just like, oh, yeah, that was an interesting choice. It was probably cheap and picked on the fly. It's...
Yeah, no, it's, no, I'm picking up on a lot more. Also, I think, if you think about Halloween, right, there is the Panaglide, the visual of Michael Myers gliding. Then you have Black Christmas, the first person kind of very invasive claustrophobic camera work in Black Christmas, I would say, which really sets it apart visually. Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson has that roving handheld camera. There's this movie. I would say that every shot by Gary Keebe is good. I love the shots in this movie, but they're very meat and potatoes. I don't think I ever saw one shot in that film and just went, oh my gosh, but they didn't have the time for that. So it's just really well shot, but it's very meat and potatoes. So it's the really interesting stuff is it goes really quick. If you go grab a beer, you're going to miss it. And then there's no, for me at least, just gliding Michael Myers or claustrophobic camera work. And it's just very well done. It's very effective, fast. I dig it. But I guess all that combines to just make this film where it is in his kind of filmography, I would say. And, I know does that mean it's like a cult classic of John Carpenter's cult classics. He has a super famous, I don't know. I have a hard time explaining this movie, but it's just been hitting me this week about how much I love it. But it's not meant to be so blockbustery. Sorry, John. It doesn't have the special effects, right? There's no, God. I mean, it doesn't have the budget because he wanted to make this film on his own. So we just have to realize that was made on the fly. But yeah, everything about it isn't super memorable, but you just have to listen, just listen, and you'll like it.
Yeah, I'd say that the Apocalypse trilogy movies, right? And so to listeners who might not know what that is, that's The Thing, it's Prince of Darkness, and it's In the Mouth of Madness. These potentially world-destroying concepts, even though they're all very unrelated movies, but they all deal with that. And I think that those movies are my favorite three of his movies. Am I saying that they are the three best? I'm not. I'm saying they're my three favorites, although I think The Thing might be his best in my eyes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a marvel of paranoia, great fake snow, tone,
the effects,
acting, the effects, and it hasn't aged. It still looks beautiful. And it has some of the most effective set pieces. So not only is it intelligent, it has set pieces that still get me to this day. I mean, they are orchestrated perfectly. I think we said it before. I think The Thing is a perfect movie. I love really and truly believe that. And you like the characters. It's got Kurt Russell with the sombrero, which is hilarious. But one thing about this movie, he was operating on a budget, right? So he got Dennis Dun, he got Victor Wong, he got Donald Pleasence. He had people that he had worked with before who came back and worked for him on the cheap to do this.
Right. He was saying that that you couldn't do that now. I guess it's because of SAG rules.
Yeah. So they probably would have been paid scale. So I don't even think he paid them scale. Like when Peter Berg made Lone Survivor after Battleship, he didn't have any money, so everyone had to work for scale to make that movie. So who knows what scale is according to their contracts. But yeah, he paid them pennies on the dollar to come work for them, which makes the movie. But I do feel like Dennis Dun's Walter character in this movie, he feels quite out of place. He seems to be in a different movie than this movie. I don't know what you think about that.
But I think this goes back to my position that it's grounded in the delivery and less concerned with the staging. And in the delivery, sometimes some grad department really does have that oddly social, scientist guy, and he's just and there he is. But I agree, even when he's scared, everything on him is dialed up.
Mm-hmm.
The humor is dialed way up. The social chatty, oh, what do you think about what's going on with Professor Burak? That's turned up. Him being scared is turned up. Him being flirtatious, or even his most casual interactions. Hey, where's so-and-so? Oh, yeah, she was just out in the hall. Like, everything about his little interactions do seem turned up. But I guess that he was handed a character, and he was given a few lines about what this character is like. He made some decisions, and Carpenter probably just said, yeah, I believe this guy exists, and why not?
I mean, I'm happy seeing Dennis Dun on the screen. Anytime I see Dennis Dun on the screen, I'm happy.
If you just gave him a sword, this would have been solved.
It's just sometimes, I guess, for me, some of my favorite films are films that all-timers, right? My all-timer movies are the films that don't have something that take me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, does that make sense? While I enjoy this movie,
does he take you out of it, or is he like on the cusp of it?
I mean, it's just a heightened presence in a movie that's not heightened. I mean, you got Brian, the Mr. Mustache, very dour, not playing it up. You just have these tones, and then it kind of makes a tonal imbalance. And so, as much as I love this movie and I appreciate the patience that you have, and you have to watch it to really absorb it, it's hard. It does take you out of it. It does take me out of it, I would say. It's just, for me, the movies that I find myself going back to again and again are the consistent in tone type films. So
it's funny. You mentioned, kind of our scene one and final scene guy, right? It occurs to me that, like The Thing, of course, The Thing is an all-male cast. All three of his Apocalypse Trilogy movies do not rely on final girls in any way, shape, or form. The women are basically all victimized in one way or another, even though one of them goes down in a hero's death.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a man who opens for us. We literally see him first, and we see him last. Even though in the beginning he's approaching our hero's death heroine, and in the end he's thinking about trying to reconnect to her as if she was on this other side. In the Mouth of Madness does something, I won't call it similar to this in style, but again, it's like Sam Neill is in what would be the heroine or the final girl kind of role. And there is a woman cast directly aside him in the investigation of this movie, and she's on screen with him loads, but she is 0% a final girl. She does not feel like she's behind the protagonist's wheel with him. And so then you compare that to your Halloween, which was, is often considered almost like a founding father of final girlism, of contemporizing it, even if it wasn't the first. And so, again, I think that speaks so kindly to Carpenter's internal dimensions of his filmmaking, is that he can come up with that, and that is something that is now used in the most crass of ways, the final girl notion, right? And then he does these other movies that go that don't do that easy pick as a device to, I don't know, get people excited about the movie or something. I don't know. I think that's cool. I never realized that either, that this Apocalypse Trilogy, it's not that it is male driven. It's that it is not fun. It does not use final girl tropes at all.
Not, I mean, they avoid that. If you think about The Thing and this, they really, I guess there is a bit of a love story in this, but it's not that, like, he really eschews a lot, like, of what would put butts in seats, I guess, because The Thing is beautiful, but it's very oppressive, John. We as horror hounds, actually have good storytelling and good acting and good production design, actually of good filmmaking, but it's an oppressively bleak film, and it does spit. There's a lot of spit in The Thing too, and there's spit in this one. Hey, spitting in Carpenter movies. But yeah, no, he avoids, with the Apocalypse I mean, they all had to become, none of them did, well, this one did okay at the box office, but they've all had to find second lives as cult classics. But I think that's largely because, I mean, who they opened up against, but also, yeah, they're not screaming the familiar tropes of the genre.
They're not kowtowing to the industry. They're not begging at the table side for more scraps. This is, I'm going to make this film well. I hope people like it. As opposed to, I'm going to make this film in a way that people like it well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, I nailed it. And listen, I'll take these movies all day. I will take this. I will take The Happening, which we had a wonderful episode about.
God, I love The Happening.
We had a great conversation about that movie. I will take Event Horizon any day, because those movies are singular visions that, sure, they might have some faults or people hate them. I mean, just critically deride them or laugh at, not even give a chance. But they are big swings and misses. And in the film, Carpenter had his solo voice. This was not a production. This was not a $200 million movie that had 40 producers, 12 editors. So I will take these movies all day. And I will take tonal inconsistencies all day if that means the director is able to make their own picture. So I mean, I love it. But I don't even know what point I had there. But I guess I just like auteurish type films, even when something's missed. Because that's what I think you need to support. Now, I do believe that $200 million movies in a couple of years will be keeping the box office alive. Will be keeping blockbusters rolling, because you can't have a $200 million Prince of Darkness, a solo vision. You can't. But you can have a $200 million superhero movie, and they have to be produced because you're thinking about product 5 fills down. I get it. So I'm not dogging on that. That's necessary for box office, for worldwide box office, for storytelling. I mean, the MCU's been successful, but for me, it's interesting. And, you know, when Carpenter made Halloween, he was a young buck, hungry, and you just looking to make a name for himself. He had Gale Ann Hurd with him on that, his crew. He was hungry, and that's where Halloween comes from. When he made The Thing, it was a grueling shoot, and he had so many big-name actors on there. I think he had a lot of pressure. When he made Big Trouble in Little China, the studio was all over him. They did not like Kurt Russell, so it was stressful. This one, Prince of Darkness, he doesn't seem young and hungry, and he doesn't seem like he has too much pressure. So I think maybe that's what could have created some of the tonal inconsistencies of it. Does that make sense? I'm hypothesizing all over the place.
I don't know, like... When I watch it, now you got me curious to watch this again, because I never felt a tonal inconsistency. I guess like things like Dennis Dun's character, that didn't stick out to me as out of place. I don't know, because I mean, you know me, Mark. Can you imagine how much I stand out in an entomology department?
Yeah, no, I got you.
But you see, like, if you cast me as an entomologist in a movie, and I'm 6'3" and I squat over 500 pounds and I'm a loudmouth blowhard with tattoos, in sight, like, people would be like, this isn't an entomologist. This is, like, I don't know. It's an interesting choice for a film. Mm-hmm. It is, but things like that didn't really get me. I don't know. I like this character. I just loved seeing him too. I love seeing two of the main characters from Big Trouble in Little China again.
I love it. I love Dennis Dun in this. I'm a huge Dennis Dun fan. It's great. But I'm not blaming the character. I guess what I'm saying is, for me, I love this movie, but I think what keeps it from being it takes me out of it a little bit. And that's a weird complaint.
Like Dr. what was his name? Lehigh doing his mouth trombone in like 3 different shots. He did it too. It's not like he just did it in one shot, just walking and he's like holding 2 apples and like a bag of chips and his coffee cup, and it's like, okay, you're kind of a kooky professor, we get that. And
yeah, I think that seems like a case of an actor just kind of thinking, I need to make myself appear good on screen. I don't have much of a character. Right. So I'm inventing these noises. But yeah, so before we get out of here, John, the footage of everyone has the same dream. So everyone of the Brotherhood of Sleep, Dr. Sleep, Rose the Hat. Hey, I wonder if I love the way it's shot. And So that came from the future, correct? Is that what we're saying? That they beamed it back from the future, and that was the anti-god. So is everything they're doing pointless because you can't change the future? Is the son of the anti-god going to come back and get the anti-god?
I don't necessarily think that either that was the anti-god, although it was very ominous the way it came out. But the fact that they got that message, I believe that the way they told us about this message, I feel like someone wanted them to get this message.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, though, is that if it's the anti-god walking out, which I do kind of believe, I lean more on that side, right? This ominous woman who was sucked in, right? That was our hero's death character. So, but now she's walking out. She looks like she's one of the evil touch people.
Catherine.
But someone recorded this utilizing tachyons in their technology and calculated where it would arrive, and so they knew to send it at the right time so that they would be receiving it. That, or at least that's how the characters presented it. So it's as if someone wanted them to receive this message, this warning per se. So maybe it's one of them that did it.
Yeah. After having the conversation.
Question mark.
I still buy it. I still really buy it, and I love the visual. It's just
one of many things that we ask about in wonderment of this movie. Like, okay, like what's going on there? It's
in Signs when the alien walks by the party and you see it for a
great
second.
Shot.
Yeah, and that's what this feels like to me. Just enough. It feels just enough. I love that. I don't want any more of what we see. And at the end, when he reaches into the mirror to potentially get Catherine back, I feel like that ending's earned because it's asking a question I want to attempt to answer. It's not going, what? Wait, they were alive the whole time and now they're in the back of the car stabbing you in the throat? Or this is all pointless? The end of, some horror movies end with just, it makes the entire movie almost pointless. Now, I'm down for some nihilism, but I want 100 minutes of nihilism, not a final 2 minutes of insanity. So I think the final question that this movie asks is really earned. And that's another successful film to me. That it, I don't know. At the end, when he reaches out, I don't even want to know the answer. I'm just satisfied with it. And it doesn't make anything moot. It's an excellent ending. That's what I think.
Do you think that Professor Burak had changed his name, from Wang, and that after the events in San Francisco, he decided to go legit and he had his PhD from China and he got a job at this school. And then after the events of Prince of Darkness, when he saw the end of the world almost happen again, first to a sorcerer and this time to an anti-god, that he just said, you know what, screw all this. I'm moving to the Southwest where none of this can find me. And then a bunch of tremors came because
3 years later,
he's always involved in weird trinkets or weird obscure knowledge. And he's always involved in some creatures or some entity coming to take out some scale of humanity, even if it's just a town in the Southwest. I wonder, kind of like there's a Jack Burton timeline. Is there the Wang timeline? Does Victor Wong have his own timeline? And it's these 3 movies?
Oh, man. Okay, so I see him totally being in this film, Prince of Darkness. But I just don't think a graboid would take out Egg Shen. Egg would be ready.
Oh, I'm sorry, I kept saying Wang. That was Dennis Dun, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I got you. I think Egg would... I don't even pick up on that. I think Egg would... I just can't picture a graboid killing Egg.
Well, maybe he kind of lost it after this, though. Like
when retirement?
Kind of like a permanent PTSD. He had to remove himself from the world of physics and academia.
You know what's interesting too, John? You battle the why can't I remember his name in Big Trouble in Little China? So you're battling this demon in Big Trouble in Little China. I'm out of here.
Oh, Lo Pan.
Lo Pan, and then you have to go battle the son of the anti-god. Come on. Like what?
Like just a year or 2 later too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go legit. I'm going to be a professor. Oh, here comes this weird eclipse and this supernova. Guess we got to save the world again.
Yeah, I would move to the middle of nowhere in Nevada and just try to live a life owning a restaurant or a bodega that doesn't have enough supplies, but I have so many historical trinkets I can sell them and stay.
I mean, he basically got by selling hubcaps and beer.
Yeah. So he has to have money outside of it, which he probably accumulated he probably pilfered something from Lopan's place.
But he leapt at those graboid tongue mouths, though. I think that he thought his mysticism could make something valuable out of him.
Businessman. Well, thank you for joining me, John. I know I hypothesize a lot. Normally we don't get into the films like this too much, but it's just such an interesting study of a director making whatever he wants. Not making his vision 100%, for better or worse, which is, I think, for better, but for the legacy of this film, maybe for worse, if that makes sense.
That's tough to say. I think that
we cinephiles like it, right? Cinephiles.
I think that as time goes on, a bigger proportion of people who have seen it will like it. But I think that the people who are seeing it for the first time today are being directed to it by people who love it. There's too many movies out there. You know, people aren't just stumbling across this and being like, oh, I'll watch this now. I don't think that's happening as much.
Alice Cooper zombie. Oh, no, yeah. No, all right, one advice, though, John, that I think we can, before we get out of here, that we can give everybody, is just, we know you're busy. We know that you have a job. Maybe you have, your extracurricular activities, kids, spouse,
a movie podcast and a movie website.
Yeah, a website. But if you ever watch this movie, just do it in half-hour chunks, but just focus on it. Just listen, because there's some very rewarding things if you just listen to the dialogue. And I think it allows you to sort of be wrapped up in it. I know a lot of you don't have that opportunity to have that, but just try, because it's very rewarding. It's much more rewarding now than it ever has been for me, this film.
Likewise.
Cool. All right, well, thank you, John. We're doing In the Mouth of Madness next.
Got to round out that trilogy. We got to make sure the world ending gets halted again.
And then we're on the Saw, or do we have others in front of that?
We can do the Saw series, or there's a little Lovecraft series I'd like to do.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh, so we're doing Lovecraft, and then we're gonna do Mouth of Madness, Lovecraft. We're gonna do Monster Hunter sometime, and then Saw.
I'm down. We've been threatening to do the Saw set before there was a Jigsaw movie, and now there's a Jigsaw movie. So 8 and then Spiral. We will probably, by the time that we are getting deep into the Saw series, I imagine Spiral will be coming out, and we can round it out with Spiral. I think that's 9 films.
I think the world needs to hear your Saw thoughts, so I'm excited for this. But I'm looking forward to the Color Out of Space, and our other Lovecraft stuff. But thank you, John. Thank you for joining me, man.
All right, cheers, man.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for John, subatomic particle collapsing on himself on a subatomic level, Levingood, this is Movies on the Flicks. We'll see you next week.